What's up, everybody? It's Matt Modi here. Time to bring you my favorite video of the week. It is when I get to provide my 4 picks of the week. As always, I do one lock, one underdog, one player, and one game prop. For those of you who followed along all of last year, you remember these picks were incredibly profitable. I believe we were over, just for NFL season, we were over 47 units. We like to brag that $100 bettors profited over $1,000. So far, so good for this week. I haven't been giving out units or anything like that. Just been giving the 4 picks. They're always positive EV, and the odds are always better than minus 200. So another thing where I crunch the math, if you bet $100 on each one, you've profited about $367. So for me personally, just to give a little background, I like to I use OddsJam for the positive EV bets and the arbing, but I also like to kind of get my own skin in the game and root for stuff that I think is going to happen. So when I do that, I like to make sure I use OddsJam to make sure that they're profitable and that they're positive EV and that the value's there. But it's also a way for me to kind of just have some fun with myself and make my own bets. So for this week, I will admit I had a little bit of trouble. Let me go to the NFL page, picking a lock. Let me zoom in a little bit here. For those of you who remember, like I said, the odds are always better than minus 200. So we'll never make a pick that is above minus 200 odds. So looking at the spreads here, like minus 380, minus 380, minus 350, minus 335, minus 335, minus 250. You get the picture. There's a ton of big money spreads here and money lines. So, and I do like a lot of these games. Like I like the Broncos to cover, but 10.5 points is just too much for me to pick as a lock. Same thing, with the Browns and 7 points. And then the teams that I could take money line that are better than minus 200. I don't have a ton of faith in. I mean, the Patriots, the Saints looked terrible last week. So I really think they're going to lay another egg and lose to the Patriots. I don't know. Same thing with the Steelers. So I'm only saying this to kind of highlight, the way I go about my thought process in picking my games. So my first thing I do is see if I can find a money line that I like better than minus 200. That's what I did the past 2 weeks. Both my locks have hit so far. Unfortunately for this week, what I had to do was buy a little bit of points. So what I ended up settling on is this Titans-Colts game right here. So as you can see, Colts are 5.5-point favorites. If you look at the sharpest sportsbook out there, you look at Pinnacle, they are, where's that game? They're -5. So the true spread is closer to -5 than it is to -5.5. So again, this is just looking at DraftKings. Obviously, I want to preface and make sure you understand how important it is to line shop. So what I ended up doing was buying the 2 points on the true line, and the official lock is going to be Titans -3. I did make sure that it was a positive EV bet. And if these are only the sports books that I can legally use in Virginia. Obviously, you want to make sure that you customize this because you might even find better odds than I get, but I'm just going off of what I can do. So you go down, you find the best odds for Titans -3, and I'm looking at them -157 on BetRivers or on Barstool. So that's the official lock. And just to go over the football analysis behind that, instead of just the math, Titans seem to have figured some stuff out on offense last week. Obviously, they put up a ton of points on a bad Seahawks defense, but the Colts defense isn't that great. So Derrick Henry had his monster game. They're going to keep feeding him. There's really no one on the Colts that can keep up with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. A.J. Brown especially has had a slow start, but you kind of trust the talent with him. And then Julio Jones was close to having a touchdown last week. He really should have, that stupid heel rule. And he had over 100 yards. So, and then on the Colts side, they're either starting a quarterback and Carson Wentz, who has 2 sprained ankles, which Carson Wentz isn't good when he's healthy, but the best thing he can do is escape. So with 2 sprained ankles, I doubt he can do any escaping. Or the talk is that they're going to do a quarterback competition with Jacob Eason and Brett Hundley. This isn't college. Quarterback competitions don't work. So I can't imagine that having much success. But so no matter what, whether it's Wentz, whether he's out and it's the backups, I am incredibly comfortable laying the 3 points and buying up the spread a little bit to -3 to protect yourself from a field goal or any shenanigans, happening to get the field goal. The Titans are at home. Colts seem just snake bitten. Titans -3 lock of the week. Let's bank it in. 2-0 on my locks so far. The underdog, this one was actually much easier. So there's a decent amount of underdogs that I liked. The Falcons, I mean, they're terrible, but so are the Giants. The Bengals, they didn't look great last week, but Big Ben, I think, is toast. The Saints have looked great one week, terrible the other. You can never trust the Raiders. And then the Rams at home, Stafford has looked great. And then the same thing with the Vikings at home, who have lost 0-2, having lost by a combined 4 points. Mike Zimmer is just going to go nuts there. But what I settled on was the Packers. And the best odds you can get there, let me go back to the NFL page. First of all, the true line based on Pinnacle is plus 146. I believe the best odds you can get them at are plus 150. And there's your positive EV value right there. So Packers underdog is the official lock. Let me just make sure I look at the best odds I can get if this ever decides to load. Plus 150. That's what I thought. So, so for me personally, I'm an Eagles fan. I just watched the 49ers play against the Eagles, and I was completely and wholly unimpressed with what I saw. I mean, Jimmy G was missing targets left and right. Their offensive line was doing an okay job against the Eagles' defensive line, but they really couldn't create any movement in the run game. They only started to have success after the Eagles' best defensive lineman, or defensive end, I should say, Brandon Graham, got hurt, and they started doing toss plays. And even then, they didn't really find that much success. They scored 17 points, but they had two fumbles, one recovered, one called back. Three total fumbles, one called back, two that they recovered. And they had an interception that they should have thrown that hit the Eagles safety, Anthony Harris, right in the chest, and he dropped it. Jimmy G hasn't looked great. None of the running backs are healthy. There's some weirdness going on at receiver with Brandon Ayuk, who was supposed to be a stud going into the year and just really hasn't done anything. And then defensively, while the 49ers only gave up 11 points to the Eagles, if you watch the game, the Eagles should have had much more points. They had a touchdown call back, that a 91-yard catch that somehow they couldn't score, and they had a field goal blocked. The 49ers are incredibly banged up in the secondary, and Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams is a much stiffer competition than Jalen Hurts and whatever the Eagles have at receiver. So Packers, I think they should win. The Packers absolutely dominated the 49ers last year. So official lock of the day, Packers. Best I can get them is at plus 150. And I think if you can find a better, definitely take that. Player prop is one that I used. So just to emphasize this, the positive EV page, you will find the best value on player props because there's so many, and B, they're so wide ranging from book to book that the best EV you can get is from player props. And this is one that I did like. It's not the highest percentage, but I did like it. And the pick is Matthew Stafford over 2.5 touchdowns. I think, and this is in the Bucs Rams game, obviously. So first, you can see there's a high over under. 55 is a lot of points. I think there's a misnomer about the Bucs defense. They're incredibly good in the running game. They've been really stout so far, but they've been really gettable in the passing game. And in 2 games so far, they've given up 300 yards to both quarterbacks. Matt Ryan, who does not have a good of an offense as Matthew Stafford in the Rams, Matt Ryan put up 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the week before, Dak, who didn't look 100% healthy, carved him up for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. So if you look at the lines for it, Stafford over 2.5 touchdowns. Let's see, where is that? Plus 134. So you can get odds that are close to. I first saw it at plus 170. That would have been beautiful. Unfortunately, that got it got pushed down a little bit. It got bet down, I think, because they knew. Where's passing touchdowns right there? Stafford over 2.5 plus 155. So it's still good positive EV from the sharpest sportsbook out there in Pinnacle, and which you can get on DraftKings and Caesars. But I'm incredibly confident in this. When these two teams played last year, this was with golf, mind you. The Rams didn't even bother running the ball. I think McVay knows, let's not mess with that defensive line up front. Let's not try and run the ball, and we can get success passing through the air. So Stafford, I think, should have over 2.5 touchdowns, and he's quietly looked phenomenal in the first 2 games. He's been great. I think if you look at PFF or Football Outsider, DVOA, he's the number 1 rated quarterback so far in the NFL. So he looks good. This is going to be an awesome game. As you can see, they expect points. And that leads me to my game prop. But first, to confirm my official player prop, Matthew Stafford over 2.5 passing touchdowns. And that is passing, so a rushing one would not count, but he doesn't run a ton. Anyway, so my game prop, we're going to stick with the same game, and we are going to go with the Tampa Bay Bucks over Oh, I think I passed it. Tampa Bay Bucks. There you go. Over 27.5 points. So as you can see, the DraftKings has it at minus 120. If you look at it, Pinnacle has them at minus 115. So that wouldn't be a positive EV play. But if you look at the game, you go to the team totals, you can see you can get over these lines. Here we go, over 28 and minus 114. So it's not exactly the same thing, but you just have to you push when you get that. But I'm very confident in the Bucks team total over this 28 because they've scored 30 points in like their last 8 or 9 games. They've just been a machine ever since they had the bye week last week. Brady, Bruce Arians, the quarterback coach whose name I'm forgetting, the offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich. That's who it is. They've clicked. They have incredible weapons. Even if Antonio Brown doesn't play, which I think he probably will, they can beat you in so many ways. And the Rams defense, which was phenomenal last year, has quietly not been great this year. I mean, they beat the Colts last week, which A isn't anything that impressive, but B, the Colts got stopped within the goal line, within the 5-yard line twice. And none of that was because the Rams defense did anything great. The first one, the Colts had the ball first and goal from the 1, and they tried 3 straight run plays that got stuffed. They ran right into Aaron Donald with not a great offensive line. They didn't even try to do anything else. And then on 4th down, Wentz took the dumbest sack you'll ever see. So, I mean, good on them for getting the stop, but it wasn't like they did anything that impressive. And then the next drive, Wentz threw that ungodly bad interception at the goal line on the shovel pass. It was so bad, the most Wentz play I've ever seen. I mean, I'm just so glad he's not an Eagle anymore. And then the week before against the Bears, quietly the Bears were able to kind of move the ball up and down the field to begin that game, and that was with freaking Andy Dalton. Dave Montgomery's a good running back, and they were able to run it on them. But the Rams just haven't quite been the same level of success they've had last year on defense. So the Bucks, I think they'll score over 30 points. If you want to take the game over 55, by all means, but I'm more confident in the Bucks over 28. And that's my official game prop of the day. So if we are going to do a recap, my lock, Titans -3, my underdog, Packers money line, my player prop is Stafford over 2.5 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and my game prop, Tampa Bay Bucks over 28. I cannot stress enough how important it is, one, to line shop, because you saw I went and looked at the best odds I could get. If you just look at, I always like DraftKings, just the layout of it, and if I want to look at everything, but I will not place a bet without looking at OddsJam and without looking at the best lines. Line shopping is incredibly important. And other tools, the positive EV page is amazing. You get so many good plays on there that you won't even think of, and they do all the work for you. So you don't even have to think of it. You just have to look. And they added this calculator so you can put how much you want to bet on it, and it's beautiful. They also have odds converter. They have a bunch of different tools. That the blog is incredibly helpful. It's amazing. So for all your betting needs, I would definitely recommend you make sure you subscribe to OddsJam. And there's a reason why, they've been so popular. They're increasing their price. So make sure you get on it before October 1st, or else it'll go up a little bit. But they've just been so popular. They've helped people like me make money so much with all their different tools that it's incredibly helpful. I use their tools, and then when I want to get my own skin in the game, I'll just place my own bets, and I'll make sure that they're all positive EV. So one last recap: lock, Titans -3, underdog, Packers money line, player prop, Stafford over 2.5 touchdowns, game prop, Bucks team total over 28. Happy betting. Make sure if you do bet on them to let me know. I'd love to hear it. And I'll make sure I keep track like I have been going forward. Right now I'm 6-2, over $360 profit if you bet 100 each. So hoping to continue that. I have a feeling this is going to be a 4-0 week, but happy betting, happy watching. And good luck.